Joe Mullings from 160 Studios, and I've got a treat for you today. I am turning the tables on one of the people who leads the team that manages my brand and my voice, as well as the organization's brand and voice of True Future, the Mullings Group, JSM, and whatever else we have coming out. Nicole, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Definitely did not know I'd be here. Usually I'm behind the scenes,
That's
so
right.
this is definitely a new kind of thing for me.
Yeah, well, I just thought I would share with the audience and the people who follow us, who are constantly looking for ways to develop their brand, ways to develop their reputation. We'll use those two words to open up with today. What are the things that you keep in mind as you develop these initiatives for both personal people as well as organizations?
You know, I think for everybody it's different, and that's the biggest thing people have to remember. You can't look and say, I'm going to emulate this person and that's exactly what I can do on day one. It's just not the way it works. Like growing a business, you know, getting in shape, anything, it doesn't happen one and done. So ultimately it's being able to take a step back and say, okay, where am I at today? And how do I start to improve day by day? And that's the biggest thing to focus on at the start.
Yeah, and don't get caught up in metrics, especially vanity metrics. And one is more than none, and two is more than one if you are going to worry about those likes.
Yeah, absolutely. And really the thing is, it's not to worry about the likes, right? It's the value add. It's how you are able to support the people that are viewers, followers in your industry, market. And, you know, from a personal side, it's also what you enjoy. You know, you don't have to do things for the likes. Do something that you're going to enjoy.
Yeah, that's true. You and I also discuss, we were early users of the word brand. We were early users of transferring that to reputation. And then as of late, you and I have come up with the concepts of subject matter expert, establish that. That leads to subject matter leadership in a category. And then eventually the ideal is to be the voice of a category or an interest. And you have given some great insight and direction in that. You want to chat about SME, SML, and then voice?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing is one that I just want to kind of touch on is, remember, there's the beginner level. So you're not going to all of a sudden start out as a subject matter expert. You meet yourself at that beginner level. Once you get to that subject matter expert space, it's about, like I said, adding that value to the market, to your audience, and being able to speak about your specific subject. That doesn't mean now you're a subject matter expert on the world. You know, you can't go out there and say, I just now know everything. Everybody's going to be a beginner somewhere, a subject matter expert somewhere else, a leader somewhere else. The other part with all of it too is learning how to transition that to digital. It's not always just going to be because I send this email or I write this blog or, you know, even just write it down on a notepad that it's going to transfer the same way. You have 1,300 characters on LinkedIn. How are you going to share that? You have like 200 on Twitter. All of those are different ways that it's how do you showcase this subject matter expertise in a way that adds value and is working for the platform that you're on in digital. And then from there, also understanding what does it take to go from beginner to subject matter expert to leader, and then the voice for that particular subject.
Yeah, and I want to spend time around that journey of beginner, subject matter expert, subject matter leader, and eventually voice. And voice is like maybe one or two voices in an entire industry, right? So those are rare, but they're certainly something to aspire to. So subject matter expertise, I personally would define as you're already an expert in your space and you've decided to step into digital. And so now how do you go from sharing your subject matter expertise, which right now might only reside on a podium, person to person, or on a telephone? How do you spread that subject matter expertise to the tens of thousands in an industry? After you get there, after you've established that subject matter expertise, then you want to look for subject matter leadership, where you start to maybe give some insight where a market is going. Not where is the market today, because a lot of people can do that. Not elegantly, but a lot of people can do that. But a subject matter leader can sort of start connecting the dots of today, taking information from the past, be less wrong about the future with that, and talk about where markets are likely going based upon patterns. Then once you get there, then you start to become a voice, where every morning people log on and they first see what you want to say. And I think that is the journey that, to give a little more clear definition to our viewers about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You also mentioned a couple of platforms. You mentioned LinkedIn, Twitter, and let's not leave Facebook behind, and even Instagram. So how do you think about those platforms in regards to, are they all equal in nature? Do you approach them differently? As you give guidance and you've developed brands and voices for brands, what do you think about?
Yeah, I think, the fact is all of them are not created equal based on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're in more of a business, perspective and that's what you're looking for, LinkedIn is obviously going to be your more cognitive platform. It's where you're going to go to learn and grow. And quite frankly, the engagement on there is one of the best I've seen on any sort of platform. It's where truly people want to engage with each other and learn from each other. And that's really important. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to let go of Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. They're just different sorts of platforms. And within a business, you might look at Instagram with a more escapism. It's a little bit more behind the scenes. It's more of that fun side of things sometimes. Still professional, of course, you're running a business. That's something we want to always keep in mind. And then the other side of it is Twitter's more commentary. You have very few, characters you can really use there, and it's using them well and using them without saying kind of so much in so little. And that's so important. A lot of people tend to end up saying like, XYZ, 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 and then ultimately we don't have any idea what their point was. Short and simple. And then from Facebook, this one looks back a little bit more. This tends to be, at least on the personal side. Now for a business, it's going to look a little bit different, but you've got memories popping up, you're connected to your grandparents and your parents and your classmates and the people you don't always interact with each day. On a business side, what it allows you to do is post more content. It's the one platform that doesn't have any sort of kind of limit on video size and things like that. So you're allowed to do so much more with that platform. So I would never let it go. I just think it's ensuring that it's an ecosystem that you really play to all.
Yeah, and we refer to that in our organization as a chorus of voices. And oftentimes when you think about each of those platforms that you pointed out really, really elegantly was, okay, so what kind of medium on them, right? So when I think about Instagram, you hit it, that's sort of escapism. Think of a magazine, and usually is image heavy, copy second. When you think about LinkedIn is copy heavy because it's an education platform, and image matters there as well. But to your point, you're limited on length of video, but nonetheless, that is an educational platform. Facebook is more of alumnus, rear-facing, and copy is important there as well. And it's a B2B, B2C feel. B2B, B2C also in the LinkedIn platform. And then when you get to Twitter, I always refer to it as bubblegum news. Yeah, it's commentary. And in general, if you have something important to say, think about using your Twitter platform as a redirect to connect it back to either a LinkedIn page and or a Facebook page. So it's sort of a chorus, as we call it, and a circulation of ideas, and they all need to complement each other. Again, and from a tense perspective, I would say LinkedIn is present and future tense, in my opinion. I'm teaching you about today and potentially projecting out about the future. Facebook is past and present tense, meaning celebrating the past. People go there with a retro feel in their mind. And again, that experience is copy and image. And then Twitter's in the moment, no doubt about it, in the moment. So your thoughts on, I'm a business, do I develop my personal brand? Do I develop my business brand in respect to all those platforms?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about should I do or, you always say it's an and, not an or, and that's exactly how I would look at the situation. When you're growing a business, you also have to grow yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't go home and read and work out and do all the things that allow you to have personal development the same way you're growing your business. It's the same on digital platforms. You can't only be growing a brand, and quite frankly, with a lot of these companies, what a lot of people don't realize is on all these platforms, personal does better. People lean in because they see a person and they hear their voice. And when they're able to put that person in touch with that brand, they're more likely to trust that brand. So it's super important that people take a step back and say, okay, if I can only have X amount of time to invest, how do I invest in both? Because this is one of those places where I would say it isn't an or. You have to do both. on all platforms. And it doesn't mean that at first you have to go full throttle into all, 20 different social platforms, but at least start with LinkedIn, get your personal and your company on there, start to bring in your employees, and then you can start to branch out to other social platforms.
So what's the guidance you give to our clients, because you manage a number of very important brands for our clients? When you get a CEO on the line and they're talking to you and like, Nick, I need help with this. Right. And that we come in, we do web pages, we do branding, all of that. Where do you usually tell them to start?
It's going to be different with every single brand and every single company. Typically what I want to start with is, what are your goals over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months? Because ultimately we need to make sure that they coincide. Digital, brand, potential rebrand is all super important, or very important to keep in mind, because ultimately if you see your company being here in 12 months, how do we get you there? It can't be separate from your year-long initiatives or separate from your goals. Ultimately, this is another kind of portal into being or getting to those goals. And it's super, it's incredibly important that people look back and say, okay, I armed myself on digital, I armed myself with marketing, I armed myself at keynotes, at everything, because they're all going to coincide.
Mm-hmm. And do I start out like a bat out of hell 5 days a week? With videos going all the time and pictures going all the time, and where do I start? And again, I know it matters, but what should I do? Should I start out and run that marathon first day on the job, or what do I do?
No marathons at the start.
Yeah.
The same way you wouldn't run an actual marathon right away. Mm-hmm. I'd make it a half a mile and be like, all right, I'm tapping out. But it's really important that we take a step back and say, okay, what time investment can I make here? If I can make 3 days a week, and remembering that it's going to take time to, start to draft your copy, revisit your copy, have someone else look at it. We do a lot of copy consultation. That's one of the things that all the time I'm reminding our clients, send it over. We will give you insight. Sometimes you're actually boiling the ocean in one post, and it could be your post for the whole week. And there's a lot that can be done there. So it's very important to say, what is my time investment and commitment that I can make, and go from there. Ordinarily, I'm not ever recommending less than 2 to 3 times a week, and I'm also not recommending more than that at the beginning. We have to find that sweet spot, and you have to be able to make it into a consistent cadence before we increase.
Super. So, new businesses, tenured businesses, how about the executive who's like, I don't know where to start. What lever do I pull? What dial do I twist? What button do I push? Holy cow, what do I do? So what's the very first move?
Again, I go back to goals, but I also say, what do you know about this? What do you know about this platform? If all they know is, oh, some people post on it and that's fun. Okay, we need to go back to super basics, like really bring it back as far home as we can, because we're starting at step 1. And for someone else who's like, I've posted a couple times, I understand it a little bit, then we're gonna push them forward. But ultimately, it's what do they already know? What can we teach in digestible, timeline, milestone kind of way, because you can't learn it all in one day. And then how do we implement those things to set someone up and a client up for success?
Yeah. And again, coming back to what we opened up with, subject matter expert, subject matter leadership for your industry, and then ultimately you want to become the voice. And so I would suggest also that you look at the inventory of, if you're walking into your first foray into social, and I almost hate to use that social because it's got a negative connotation, but we'll use it. If you are an expert already, I think the biggest thing you need to do is go, okay, I'm an expert. If I was going to teach 20 lessons, 21-minute lessons over the next month, I want to be able to write them on a Post-it and put those 20 Post-its on a board and step back from that and go, there it is, there's my curriculum for the next month. I think that is one of the easiest ways. And if you can't fit it on a Post-it, and I'll even let you write super small, then it probably shouldn't be posted. And I think what that does is allows you to, as you said, 200 words on Twitter, 1,300 characters, or 200 characters, 1,300 characters on LinkedIn. If you can't fit it on a Post-it, it doesn't get posted, right? So that would be my guidance to anybody who's looking to get in. Post-its, put 20 on there, teach your lesson, and then from there, that'll give you a comfort level and you won't have that apprehension.
Absolutely. The other thing that comes up when I think about that is a lot of a lot of people and a lot of our clients tend to think they just need to come up with content like on the spot. That's not how it works. I mean, you and I both do this. We have notebooks, we have notes by our bed, we have notes on our computer. Anytime I think about something, I'm in a client meeting, I'm like, oh, that'd be a great post. And ultimately set yourself up for success by doing those small things. Rome wasn't built in a day, and this won't be either.
Yeah. Well, listen, you dropped a ton for everybody today. Awesome as usual, and not surprised. You are the machine behind the brands here. I appreciate that. How'd you feel your first time on camera?
I said super too much, but thank you for having me.
You did great. I'm Joe Mullings, 160 Studios. Be well.